Hey guys, gamers, this is Drumset coming at you with the Dark Souls 3 walkthrough. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, what's this? Terms and Conditions, Bandai Namco Entertainment America Incorporated, Dark Souls Trademark 3, End User Licensing Agreement. Important to read carefully. Oh, sounds important. Last updated December 17th, 2015. This End User License Agreement, this EULA, may be updated from time to time. Your continued use of the game as defined below after a revised version has been communicated to you constitutes acceptance by you of its terms. The game is licensed to you on the terms set forth in this EULA, which constitutes a legal agreement between you and Bandai Namco Entertainment America Incorporated. BNE. By accessing, playing, installing, or otherwise using the game in any way, you agree to be legally bound by the terms of this EULA with BNE. Your use of the game is also subject to the terms and conditions set forth by the Steam Trademark Subscriber Agreement and or any other terms set forth by Valve Corporation in relation to the Steam service. This EULA contains, among other things, an arbitration provision containing a class action waiver. If you live outside the United States of America, some or all of the arbitration provision may not apply to you. The Dark Souls Trademark 3 video game, including without limitation any multiplayer, online, or downloadable portions thereof, and any related written or electronic documentation or content of the game, is protected by domestic and foreign copyright laws as well as international copyright treaties and conventions and other laws. The game is licensed and not sold, and this EULA confers no title or ownership to the game or any copy thereof. In addition to the terms and conditions hereof, when accessing and using particular portions of the game, including without limitation any multiplayer, online, or downloadable content, you may be subject to additional guidelines of third-party services. Preconditions of the licenses. The licenses granted in this EULA are specifically conditioned upon following, and your full compliance with all other terms and conditions set forth in this EULA. You have reached the age of majority in your jurisdiction. Let me take a sip of my coffee. If you are under the age of majority in your jurisdiction, your legal representative, e.g. a parent or a person who has parental authority, must agree on your behalf to comply, and take full responsibility for your compliance with this EULA prior to your use of the game. You agree to comply with all of the terms in this EULA, and any additional terms as may be applicable to the game, which acceptance is evidenced by your access to and use of the game. You access and use the game only on local machines running validly licensed copies of operating systems on which the game is designed to operate and which meet the minimum requirements set by collectively the hardware. You do not use any hacks, cracks, bots, or third-party software, third-party games that may modify or copy temporarily or permanently the code or the user experience of the game, whether on your local machine or on servers that enable use of any features of the game. Limited use license. Subject to the terms of this EULA, BNE once grants you the non-exclusive, non-transferable, irrevocable, limited right and license to access and use one copy of the game solely for your personal use with the hardware. Commercial use of the game is prohibited. To access and use the game, you must have legally obtained the game from BNE and all hardware and or third-party products and services required to operate the game and or access any online multiplayer or downloadable portion of the game provide. You are responsible for paying all fees, taxes, and other costs you may incur to access and use the game, including but not limited to, costs for any hardware, internet service, or any third-party products and services required to access any multiplayer wait, yeah, online or downloadable portions of the game. Neither this EULA nor your access to or use of the game entitles you to any future releases of the game, or any expansions, sequels, or similar or ancillary products. Well, big words. You have no interest, monetary or otherwise, in any feature or content contained in or related to the game. Virtual items. 3.1. Bnea may offer you the ability to earn a limited license to virtual goods and services made available by Bnea in the game, collectively virtual items. If Bnea offers the ability to earn such licenses, Bnea hereby grants you a non-exclusive, non-transferable, revocable, limited right and license to such virtual items as applicable for your personal non-commercial use exclusively in the game, excuse me, subject to the terms of this EULA and your compliance therewith. 3.2. You may only use virtual items in the game and are not redeemable for money or monetary value from Bnea or any other person or entity, except as otherwise required by applicable law. Virtual items do not have any equivalent value in real currency and do not act as a substitute for real currency. Neither Bnea nor any other person or entity has any obligation to exchange virtual items for anything of value, including but not limited to real currency. You acknowledge and agree that Bnea may engage in actions that may impact the perceived value of virtual items and at any time except as prohibited by applicable law. Except as otherwise prohibited by applicable law, Bnea is in its sole discretion has the absolute right to manage, modify, suspend, or eliminate virtual items without notice or liability to you. You may not transfer, sell, gift, exchange, trade, lease, sublicense, or rent virtual items except in the game and expressly permitted by Bnea, except as otherwise prohibited by applicable law. Bnea reserves and retains all rights, title, and interest in and to the virtual items. The licenses granted hereunder to virtual items will terminate upon termination of this EULA and as otherwise provided herein. I thought it said heroin. Provided, however, that in Bnea's sole discretion, Bnea may take your virtual items available in your account solely for the use of commercial version of the game. Bastards. Ownership. All intellectual property rights and to the game, including but not limited to video, audio, or any personal entitled to any and all copies thereof, are owned by Bnea or its licensors, and you receive no right and interest therein, except for the limited licenses expressly provided herein. You may not do any of the following: copy the game except for a single backup copy, sell, rent, release, or lease, license, distribute, or otherwise transfer or make the game available to any other person in whole or in part, or use the game in any part thereof, in any commercial context, including but not limited to on a commercial website, or in a service bureau, cyber cafe, computer gaming or center, or any other commercial local location in which a user may access, view, or use the game or the game's elements who has not purchased or been authorized by Bnea. Reverse engineer, derive source code, modify, decompile, disassemble, or create derivative works of the game or any online portion thereof, in whole or in part. Remove, disable, circumvent any proprietary notices or labels contained on or in the game or any online portion thereof, or export or re-export the game or any copy or adaptation directly or indirectly, in violation of any US laws, in violation of any applicable export restrictions or other laws or regulations, security measures and protections. Oh boy, this is dragging on. Certain security measures may be required in order for you to make full use of the game, including, without limitation, the requirement to register the game with a serial code, the requirement to have continuous access to the internet, and or the acceptance of security, digital rights management features. Failure to accept the security measures may partially or completely impair your use of the game. User-generated content. In exchange for access to use of the game and to the extent that you create content through access to and use of the game, user-generated content, you hereby grant BNIA an exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, royalty-free, fully transferable and sub-licensable worldwide right and license to use user-generated content in any way and for any purpose in connection with the game and related goods and services. Right? Including the rights to reproduce, copy, adapt, modify, perform, create derivative works from, display, publish, broadcast, transmit, or otherwise distribute, exploit, and communicate to the public by any and all means and media, whether now known or hereafter devised without any further notice or compensation of any kind to you for the whole duration or of protection granted to intellectual property rights by applicable laws and international conventions. To the extent permitted by applicable law, you hereby waive any moral rights of paternity, publication, reputation, or attribution with respect to BNIA's and other players' use and enjoyment of such assets in connection with the game and related goods and services under applicable law. The license granted to BNIA and above waiver of any applicable moral rights shall survive any termination of this EULA. Online conduct. BNIA does not pre-screen content of postings or online chats in the game and does not assume any responsibility or liability for user-generated content. BNIA does not assume any liability for any failure to remove or any delay in removing user-generated content, without limiting any of its other rights and remedies under this EULA or applicable law. If BNIA objects to any user-generated content for any reason, BNIA, in its sole discretion, may, either itself or, if applicable, by request to a third-party service provider, remove the user-generated content, B. Give warnings to applicable persons, and or C. Restrict, suspend, or terminate access to and use of the game without any notice or liability. You agree you agree that you will be personally responsible for your access to and use of the game and for all your communication and activity in connection with the game, including any user-generated content in connection your communication and activity with the game. You agree not to harass, threaten, embarrass, or do anything else to another user of the game that is unwanted, as determined by BNIA and its sole discretion. Transmit or facilitate distribution of content that is harmful, abusive, racially or ethnically offensive, vulgar, sexually explicit, defamatory, infringing, invasive, or personal privacy or publicity rights, or objectionable as determined by BNIA in its sole discretion. Hate speech is not tolerated. Oh, fuck. Violate any terms or policies communicated by BNIA from time to time. Wait, what? Violate any terms or policies communicated. You can fuck up from time to time. Call somebody the N-word. No big deal. Just don't overuse it, I guess. Oh, no, I get it, sorry. Promote or encourage any illegal activity, including hacking. Disclose your own or other users' personal information to third parties, impersonate any person or entity, including any BNIA officials, forum leaders, guides, hosts, employees, or agents, or falsely state it, or otherwise misrepresent your affiliation with a person or entity. Impede or disrupt the game or the normal flow of gameplay or dialogue, or use vulgar language, abusiveness, excessive shouting, e.g. all caps, spamming, or any other disruptive, detrimental methods in attempt to disturb other users of the game. Cheat or utilize unauthorized exploits in connection with the game. Use or exploit any bugs, errors, design flaws to obtain unauthorized access to or use of the game, or to gain an unfair advantage over other players of the game. Violate any applicable laws, including but not limited to, by posting, transmitting, promoting, or disturbing content that violates any applicable law or regulation. Violate any rules for the of third-party technology and content, rules of interactive service providers, and federal, state, local, and foreign laws where applicable. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, that's why I'm reading this. Do anything that interferes with the ability of other users to enjoy playing the game in accordance with its rules, or that materially increases the expense or difficulty of BNIA or third-party service provider, if applicable, in maintaining the game for the enjoyment of all its users. Intentionally disconnect from the network during online play, or allow yourself to be defeated by a given player repeatedly to help boost your rankings or win counts in the game. Limitation on damages. To the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, in no event shall BNIA, its suppliers, its licensors, or their respective directors, officers, employees, contractors, or agents be liable for any special, incidental, indirect, exemplary, punitive, or consequential damages whatsoever arising out of the possession of, access to, use of, or inability to use the game, or the failure to provide support services, even if a party has been advised of the possibility of such damages. This limitation will apply regardless of the theory of liability, whether fraud, misrepresentation, breach of contract, negligence, personal injury, products liability, intellectual property infringement, or any other theory. In any case, and except as otherwise required by applicable law, BNIA's, its licensors, and suppliers' entire liability for any and all damages under this EULA shall be limited to the amount actually paid by you for the game. BNIA and its suppliers and licensors make no promise or warranty that the game will work properly. You acknowledge that and agree that BNIA and its licensors and suppliers are not responsible or liable for A, any virtues or other disabling features that affect your access to or use of the game, any incompatibility among the game, other services and hardware, or C, any delays or failures you may experience in initiating, conducting, or complementing any transmission or transactions in connection with the game in an accurate or timely manner. The game and all other services are provided as is, except as might be described herein. BNIA and its licensors and suppliers expressly disclaim all warranties and conditions of any kind, express, implied, or statutory. Just a second. Rape. Statutory. Required, permitted, or enacted by statute. Having come to be required or expected through being nominated. Alright. Including without limitations the implied warranties of title, non-infringement, merchantability, and fitness for a particular purpose. Benia does not ensure continuous error-free, secure, virus-free operation of any online multiplayer or downloadable portions of the game, or continued operation or availability of any given server. Some countries, regions do not allow limitations as to how long an implied warranty lasts and or exclusions of limitations of consequential damages. So the above limitations or exclusions of liability may not apply to you. This warranty gives you specific legal rights, and you may also have other legal rights that vary from country region to country region. From country or region to country or region. Benia is not liable for any delay or failure to perform resulting from any causes beyond its reasonable control. Hold on, I gotta put some coal in the furnace. I'll be right back. Alright, where were we? Benia does not ensure continuous, error-free, secure, now level game wherever you want, and there may be extended periods of time when you cannot access such portions of the game. I'm not sure if that's where I left off, but whatever. Termination or suspension. This EULA is effective upon your agreement to be bound by its terms and remains in effect until terminated by you or Benia. You may terminate this EULA at any time by deleting and destroying any and all copies of the game in your possession, custody, or control. Except as otherwise prohibited by applicable law, Benia may limit, suspend, or terminate the licenses granted hereunder and your access to and use of the game, including but not limited to virtual items and any related services and products at any time and for any reason without notice or liability to you. Without limiting any other rights of Benia, if you fail to comply with the terms and conditions of this EULA, Benia retains the rights in its sole discretion to immediately limit, suspend, terminate your access to and or use of the game. Upon termination of this EULA, your rights to access of the game, including any licenses, access to virtual items, user data points, characters, progress, and any other information of any kind related to the game will terminate immediately, and you must cease all use of the game. In the event the game is terminated, you must destroy all copies of the game and all of its component parts. The termination of this EULA will not affect Benia's rights of your obligations arising under this EULA. Those terms that, by their nature, are intended to survive this EULA shall survive this EULA. Privacy. Benia respects your privacy rights. Any personal information supplied by you to Benia online or via any Benia-controlled website will subject to the privacy policy posted at http I think that's colon or double colon whatever / www.bandai-namco.com/company/privacy.html. Notwithstanding what is stated in the applicable privacy policy, if you use any online services such as online play or the downloading and uploading of the content, Benia may also collect, use, store, transmit, or publicly display statistical data regarding gameplay, including ID, play log, play data, level items, specifications of local machines, and residence regions, or identify content that is created, shared by you with any other players. U.S. government restricted rights. I guess I don't only have to read this. well, I want this gameplay to be thorough, so. The game has been developed entirely at private expense and is provided as a commercial computer game or restricted computer game. Use, duplication, or disclosure by the U.S. government subcontractor is subject to the restrictions set forth by in subparagraph C1II of the Rights and Technical Data and Computer Game clauses in DFARS 252, 227, 7013, or as set forth in subparagraph C1 and 2 of the Commercial Computer Game Restricted Rights clauses at FAR 52, 227, 19, as applicable. The contracted manufacturer is Bandai Namco Entertainment 4515 Higashi Shinagawa-ku, Tokyo 148,590. The developer is From Software Incorporated, G-Play, Sasasuka 226 Sasasuka, Shibuya-ku, Tokyo 151, 0073. Injunction: because Benia would be irreparably damaged if the terms of this EULA were not specifically enforced, you agree that Benia and or its licensors and suppliers shall be entitled without bond or other security proof of damages to appropriate equitable remedies with respect to breaches of this EULA in addition to such other remedies as Benia may otherwise have under applicable law. Indemnity: you agree to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless Benia, its licensors, suppliers, and each of their respective officers, directors, employees, and agents from all damages, losses, and expenses, including reasonable attorney's fees arising directly or indirectly from any violation of this EULA by you or from your acts and omissions to act in using of the game. Benia reserves the right to assume the exclusive defense and control of any matter subject to indemnification by you. Indemnification by you? Indemnification. Dispute resolution, binding or arbitration, class action waiver. You and Benia agree to resolve all disputes and claims between you and Benia in an individual binding arbitration. That includes, but it's not limited to, any claims arising out of or relating to any aspect of the relationship between you and Benia, B, the EULA, or C, your access to and use of the game. It applies regardless of whether such claims are based in contract, tort, statute, fraud, unfair competition, misrepresentation, or any other legal theory. However, this section does not apply to the following types of claims or disputes which you or Benia may bring in any court or with jurisdiction. Claims of infringement. I think that's first, second, and third, whatever. First, claims of infringement or other misuse of intellectual property rights, including such claims seeking injunctive relief. And second, claims related to or arising from alleged unauthorized force, use, piracy, or theft. This section does not prevent you from bringing your dispute to the attention of any federal, state, or local government agencies that can, if the law allows, seek relief from Benia for you. An arbitration is a proceeding before a neutral arbitrator instead of before a judge or jury. Arbitration is less formal than a lawsuit in court and provides more limited discovery. It follows different rules than court proceedings and is subject to very limited review by courts. Who says games don't teach you anything? The arbitrator will issue a written decision and provide a statement of reasons if requested by either party. You understand that you and Benia are giving up the right to sue in court and to have a trial before a judge or jury. You and Benia agree to make reasonable good faith efforts to informally resolve any dispute before initiating arbitration. A party who intends to seek arbitration must first send the other a written notice that describes the nature and basis of the claim or dispute and sets forth the relief sought. If you and Benia do not reach an agreement to resolve the claim or dispute within 30 days after the notice, is received, you or BNIA may commence an arbitration. Written notice to BNIA must be sent to via postal mail to ATTN Legal and Business Affairs Department, Bandai Namco Entertainment America Incorporated, 2051, Mission College Boulevard, Santa Clara, California, 95054, USA. Arbitration rules of the American Arbitration Association, AAA, and where applicable, the AAA's supplementary procedures for consumers related disputes, of both of which are available at http://www.org. The arbitrator is bound by the terms of the SIOLA. The AAA will administer the arbitration. It may be conducted through the submission of documents by phone or in person in the country, region where you live, or another mutually agreed location. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm not even halfway through. Arbitration may be conducted through the submission of documents, phone or in person if the country, region. If you seek $10,000 or less, BNIA agrees to reimburse your filing fee and your share of arbitration costs, including your share of arbitration compensation, at the conclusion of the proceeding, unless the arbitrator determines your claims are frivolous or costs are unreasonable, as determined by the arbitrator. BNIA agrees not to determine to seek its attorney's fees or costs in arbitration unless the arbitrator determines your claims are frivolous or costs are unreasonable, as determined by the arbitrator. If you seek more than $10,000, the arbitration costs, including the arbitration compensation, will be split between you and BNIA according to the AAA commercial arbitration rules and AAA supplementary procedures for the consumer-related disputes if applicable. You and BNIA agree not to bring or participate in a class or representative action, private attorney, general action, or collective arbitration, even if AAA's procedures or rules would otherwise allow one. The arbitrator may award relief only in favor of the individual party seeking relief and only to the extent of that party's individual claim. You and BNIA also agree not to seek to combine any action or arbitration with any other action or arbitration with any constitutional parties, the SIOLA, and all other actions or arbitrations. 1410. If the agreement in this section not to bring or participate in a class or representative action, private attorney, general action, or collective arbitration should be found illegal or unenforceable, you and BNIA agreed that it shall not be severe, that entire section shall be unenforceable, and any claim or dispute would be resolved in court and not in collective arbitration. Notwithstanding this section, you have the right to litigate or any dispute in small claims court. If all the requirements of the small claims court, including any limitation or jurisdiction and the amount at issue dispute, are satisfied, this section shall apply to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law. If the laws of your jurisdiction prohibit the application of some or all the provisions in this section, notwithstanding Section 16 government law, such provisions will not apply to you. Governing law. Any dispute not subject to arbitration or where no election or arbitrator has been made will be decided by the state or in federal court located in Santa Clara County, California, and you and BNIA agree to submit it to personal jurisdiction of that court, except as otherwise set forth herein. The EULA shall be governed by and will be construed under the laws of California and the United States of America without regard of choice of law or conflict of law principles. The UN Convention on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods is expressly miscellaneous. If any provisions of this EULA is held to be invalid or unenforceable, such provisions shall be struck, and the remaining provisions will remain in effect and be enforced as if the invalid or unenforceable provisions were not contained by the EULA. BNIA is failure to act with respect to a breach by you or any other does not waive its right to act in respect to subsequent or similar breaches. You may not assign or transfer this EULA to your rights, and any attempt to the contrary is void. This EULA sets forth the entire understanding and agreement between me and you with respect to the subject matter. If you have any question concerning this EULA, you may contact Bandai Namco Entertainment America's ESC customer service. Bandai Namco Company support USA. Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe Dark Souls 3 end user license agreement. Important, read carefully. This end user license agreement EULA may be updated from time to time. You continue use of the software after a revised version has been posted or communicated to you by constitutes or accepted by you the games. Bandai Namco or using which media and related documentation imprinted or electronic form is licensed to you, and the terms set forth below, which constitutes a legal agreement between you and Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe. Ah, shit! I should have read this one. Son of a bitch. By playing the video game, either on your home console or online, and or installing it otherwise using the game program, you agree to legally bound by the terms of this agreement with me. That's a hell of a lot easier to pronounce than Mia. The Dark Souls 3 version, including without limitation any multiplayer online or downloadable persons thereof, the game is produced by the copyright laws of France, international copyright treaties and conventions, and other laws. The game is licensed and not sold, and this agreement confers to no title of ownership to the game, program, or any other copy thereof. In addition to terms and conditions hereof on using particular portions of the game, including without limitation or any multiplayer online or downloadable content, may be used to additional guidelines of third-party service providers. Preconditions of license. The grant of the license is set forth in section 2 below, specifically conditioned upon the following. You have accepted all of the terms in the EULA, and any additional terms may be applicable to the game you are playing, which is evidenced by your use of the game. You have accepted all of the terms stipulated by Steam, which is evidenced by your use of the game. You will comply with all the terms in the EULA until such time as you have completed and permanently terminated your use of the game by deleting all aspects of the game from the machine, like completion, deletion of game, related files, destruction of the physical media on which the copy of the game in your possession exists, etc. You will use the game only on a single home video game entertainment system running validly licensed copies of operating systems of which the game was designed to operate the hardware, and you will refrain from using hacks for exploits by your game which may not affect them permanently. The code or the user experience of the game, whether on your local machine or on your server, which enable use of any features of the game. Limited use license. BNI grants you the non-exclusive, non-transferable, revocable, limited right and license to use one copy of the game solely for personal use with the hardware. Commercial use of the game is prohibited. To play the game or access any online content related to gaming must have legally obtained the game from me and all applicable or required hardware or third-party game to operate the game and or access any online multiplayer or downloaded portion of the game, which we do not provide. You are responsible for paying all fees and taxes for any hardware and other costs you may incur to access the game, including internet service or other third-party charges required to fuck my life. Or required to access any multiplayer online or downloadable portions of the game, if applicable. Neither this neither this agreement nor use of the game entitled to any future releases of the game. I'll be right back. Neither this agreement nor the use can may in its sole discretion change, modify, suspend, or discontinue the game after what the fuck is my brain, bro? An email, so what? Neither this agreement may sole discretion change, modify, suspend, or discontinue the game or any aspect of the game at any time. May also impose limits on certain features or restrict your access to parts or all the game, all of the game without notice or reliability. You have no interest, monetary or otherwise, in any feature or content contained in the game. You understand that the game is provided by BNI and its discretion and may be terminated or otherwise discontinued by BNI at any time without notice. Ownership, any intellectual property rights in and to the game, including but not limited to audio and other content incorporated therein or later downloaded, entitled to any of all copies thereof are owned by BNI and its licensors, and you receive no right or interest therein other than the limited license in section 2 thereof. I'm gonna play the guitar for a second just to get my fucking mind clear. You may not do any of the following: copy the game except a single backup copy, sell, rent, lease, distribute, or otherwise transfer or make the game available to you or any other person involved, whole or in part, or use the game or any part thereof in commercial context, including but not limited to using a commercial website or service bureau, cyber cafe, computer gaming center, or any other commercial location. Which I need to take a drink. Computer game, computer gaming center, or any other commercial location with multiple users who have not each separately purchased the game may access the game program. BNI may offer a separate site license agreement to permit you to make the game available for commercial use. See the contact information below. Reverse engineer derived source code, modify, decompile, disassemble, or create derivative works of the game or any online portion thereof in whole or in part. Remove, disable, or circumvent any proprietary notices or labels contained on or within the game or any online portion thereof, or export or re-export the game of it or any copy or adaptation in violation of any applicable EU export restrictions or laws. Laws or regulations, security measures, protections. Certain security measures may be required in order for you to make full use of the game, including without limitation the requirement to register the game with a serial code, the requirement to have continual access to the internet, and or acceptance of security digital rights management features. Failure to accept the security measures may partially or completely impair your use of the game. Online conduct. BNI does not pre-screen content that may be posted or online chats and does not assume any responsibility or liability for content that is generated by users in connection with the game. Does not assume any liability or failure to remove or any delay in removing content. However, we reserve the right to remove or request that the third-party service provider remove content that is objectionable to us for any reason. This determination in our sole discretion and is final. If BNI objects to content that you created, BNI may, in its sole discretion, either itself or, if applicable by request to the third-party service provider, first, remove content, second, give warnings, third, restrict your access when you break the rules, or fourth, suspend or terminate your use without any notice to you. In addition, BNI may, in its sole discretion, terminate this agreement in part immediately and without notice if your online conduct breaches this agreement or infringes any third-party intellectual property rights, or if we are unable to verify or authenticate any information you provide to us. If you terminate this agreement under these circumstances, you will lose access to any online portions of the game. You agree that you will be personally responsible for your use of the game and for all your communication and activity in connection with the game, including any content you contribute, and that you will indemnify and hold harmless BNI, its licensors, and each of their respective parents, affiliates, and subsidiary companies, and the employees, officers, directors of each from any liability or damages arising from your conduct in connection with the game. BNI retains the right to suspend your access to the game without previous notification if you violate the terms of this EULA. You will violate this EULA if you or others using your online account do any of the following. You are not 16 years or older. Post, transmit, promote, or distribute content that violates any law or regulation, harass, threaten, embarrass, do anything else to another user that is unwanted, transmit or facilitate distribution or content that is harmful, abusive, racially or ethnically offensive, vulgar, sexually explicit, defamatory, infringing, invasive, or of personal privacy or publicity rights, or in a reasonable person's view, objectionable. Hate speech is not tolerated. Violate any rules communicated by BNI from time to time. Promote or encourage any illegal activity, including hacking, disclose your own or others' personal information, impersonate any person or entity, including any BNI officials, forum leaders, guides, hosts, employees, or agents, or falsely state that otherwise misrepresent your affiliation with a person or entity. Impede or disrupt the game or the normal flow of the gameplay or dialogue, or vulgar use or use vulgar language, abusiveness, use of excessive shouting, all caps, spamming, or any other disruptive or detrimental methods in an attempt to disturb other users. Cheat or utilize unauthorized exploits in connection with the game. Use or exploit any bugs, errors, or design flaws to obtain unauthorized access to the game, or to gain an unfair advantage over other players. Trade, sell, auction, or otherwise transfer any virtual items or goods of any nature outside the game. Violate any applicable laws, including but not limited to copyright and trademarks, regulations, and use and rules whenever you are using the game. This includes rules for the third-party technology and content, rules of interactive service, providers of federal, state, local, and foreign laws are applicable. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Do anything that interferes with the ability of other users to enjoy playing the game in accordance with its rules, or that materially increases the expense or difficulty of me or the third-party service provider if applicable in maintaining the game for the enjoyment of all its users, intentionally disconnecting from the network during online play, or allowing yourself to be defeated by a given player repeatedly to help boost their rankings or win counts. Limitation or damages. To the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, in no event shall BNI, its parents, subsidiaries, suppliers, or licensors, or their respective directors, officers, employees, contractors, or agents be liable for any special, incidental, indirect, exemplary, punitive, or consequential damages whatsoever arising out of the possession, use of, or inability to use the game, or the failure to provide support services, even if a party has been advised of the possibility of such damages. This limitation will apply regardless of the theory of liability, whether fraud and misrepresentation, breach of contract, negligence, personal injury, products liability, intellectual property infringement, or any other theory. In any case, BNI's and its licensors' entire liability under any provision of this agreement shall be limited to the amount actually paid by you for the game. BNI and its licensors make no promise or warranty that the game will work properly. You acknowledge and agree that BNI and its licensors are not responsible or liable for 1. Any viruses. Oh, I read the virtues the first time. Wow, what an idiot. Any viruses or other disabling features that affect your access to or use of the game. 2. Any incompatibility between the game and other services, game and hardware, or 3. Any delays and failures you may experience in initiating, conducting, or completing any transmissions or transactions in connection with the game in an accurate or timely manner. The game and all other services are provided as is, except as described therein, or in a limited warranty accompanying the game. BNI and its licensors and suppliers expressly limited warranty accompanying the game. BNI and its licensors and suppliers expressly disclaim or warranties or conditions of any kind, express, implied, or statutory, including without a limitation. Hold on. Okay. Any day given. BNI is not liable for any delay or failure to perform resulting from any excuses beyond our reasonable control. Further, BNI cannot and does not promise or ensure that you will be able to access the online multiplayer or download portions of the game whenever you want, and there may be extended periods of time where you cannot access such portions of the game. Termination, suspension of service. Bnei retains the right at its sole discretion to either terminate or suspend immediately your access to the game. If Bnei terminates or suspends your access to the game, you will lose access to the game upon termination and or the duration of the suspension, and or second, lose balance of any items, points, character, progress in game. In the event of the game is terminated, you must destroy all copies of the game and all its component parts. Privacy. Bnei respects your privacy right and is committed to protecting your personal information. Any personal information supplied to you by Bnei, online or via Bnei control website, will be used to the privacy policy posted at this fucking website I read before. Notwithstanding what is stated in the privacy policy, if you use any other online services, any online services such as online play, or downloading and uploading of content, Bnei and its affiliates may also collect, use, store, transmit, and publicly display statistical data regarding gameplay, including scores, rankings, and achievements, or identify content that is created and shared by you with other players. Injunction. Because Bnei would be irreparably damaged if the terms of this agreement were not specifically enforced, you agree that Bnei and or his licensor shall be entitled, without bond or other security of proof or damages, to appropriate equitable remedies with respect to breaches of this agreement, in addition to such other remedies as Bnei may otherwise have under applicable laws. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify, defend, and all Bnei, its licensors, and each of their respective partners, affiliates, contractors, officers, directors, employees, and wages, harmless for all damages, losses, expenses arising directly or indirectly from acts and omissions to act in using the game pursuant to the terms of this agreement. Applicable law and jurisdiction. This agreement shall be interpreted in accordance with and governed by the laws of France. What? Any dispute arising in connection with this agreement, which cannot be settled amicably after reasonable efforts, shall be submitted to the jurisdiction of the commercial court in Lyon. Miscellaneous. If any provision of this agreement is held to be invalid or unenforceable, such provision shall be struck, and the remaining provisions shall be enforced. Bnei's failure to act with respect to a breach by you or others does not waive its right to act with respect or subsequent or similar breaches. You may not assign or transfer this agreement or your rights hereunder, and any attempt to the contrary is void. This agreement sets forth the entire understanding and agreement between me and you with respect to the subject matter thereof. Relationship to the terms of use. This EULA applies to all online service content, games, and all products, and may be incorporated in additional game-specific terms of use. In the event of a conflict between this EULA and game-specific terms of this document, this EULA shall control, unless specifically stated otherwise, the game-specific terms of use. If you have any questions concerning this license, you may contact Bnei through Bnei customer service at Bandai Namco Entertainment U or Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe, 4951 Rue de Deur, sur le Pantaleon QCD de France, terms and conditions, Bandai Namco Entertainment Asia. Oh my god, I'm not in Asia. I'm not fucking bullshit show. Okay, well, I don't really agree to this bullshit, so decline. Starting offline mode, to use online features, check to see if your connection is Huh. I still get to play. Alright, well that's all we have time for. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.